Yo, Young, welcome into the show. Gosh, that sounds so terrible by me saying it. Those are word of the day. Apparently, young is a way to reference your friends in today's hip world that I'm not a part of. But you're all my young friends regardless. Welcome into TexAgs Rewind, where we showcase TexAgs Radio. Such a formal intro for a guy who just said, what up, young? All right, today on the show, big shot of the week. We had to get into a couple of those. Antonio Johnson, obviously one of the big ones from that game. Chris Russell, one of the big ones. And Devon Achane. That was all on our big shot of the week. We also had Jamie McCoy on the program. Tight ends getting some love. Donovan Green got some catches. Jordan Pugh, always bringing that straight talk, those straight facts on the program. He talked to us as well. And we got to know a little bit about Mississippi State. Robbie Faulk broke them down, Mississippi State Insider from the 247 Network. All that, maybe not more. If you watch the entire show, you'll get more. If you just watch this clip, you'll get this clip. But it's a very good clip, I assume. I didn't cut it. Nick, is it a good video? Are we good?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so there you go. You heard it from Nick Savage. If that means anything to you, watch the entire video.
It is. You know, there was a time the offense needed a change, and they got it from Achane right there on that 63. How do you like that? Well, on that 63-yard run. And everything kind of changed then after Achane.
He slowed down a little bit waiting for the block. He might have been able to just outrun everybody as fast as he was going.
He's so spectacular. And again, I have to laugh every time at those people on our message boards who are saying, he's not an every down back. I'm always saying, who wants to take that guy out of the lineup? Who wants to take that guy off the field?
Look at that, what he just did right there. It was just pure speed, and he's good after contact as well.
Yeah, he runs with a lot more power than you think. Now, if he's going head up on a guy, you know, and the guy's meeting in a hole, and he's not going to win that. But if he has any angle at all, you know, he's strong enough to power through it. And he's proved that over and over. And if he gets a crease where he can run away from somebody, forget it. Just a great player. I'm so fortunate to have him.
You know, I hear this a lot, and sometimes I do it too, but I didn't do it in this case with Devon. Like, yeah, but if you take away that 63-yard play, what did he really do? You can't take away the 63-yard play. That's what he does. He gives you these big hits.
Well, what did he do? I remember a 13-yard carry for a first down. I remember a 9-yard run for a touchdown. I can remember, unfortunately, about a 12-yard run that would have been big that got called back.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's like if you take it,
but you don't. You don't take it away. How about that?
Yeah, I mean that's why would you take it away? It's part of the game. It's part of the performance. Well, gosh, if I take away one of what's the guy's name, KJ Jefferson's touchdown pass. Well, you know what? If I take away KJ Jefferson's 50-yard, 60-yard touchdown pass,
then he didn't do so well either.
Then he didn't do so well. I mean, how stupid is that?
It's dumb. And if your defense doesn't score a touchdown, you guys don't win. Well, yeah, guess what? We did score a touchdown, so we did win. That's how games work.
Yeah, if somebody doesn't, if somebody doesn't drop a touchdown pass, maybe they do.
Right. You can play that game with so many
all day long.
All right, let's do the second one. The second one is a defensive player. Before we get to the one I think you're thinking of, we're going to go with the SEC Defensive Player of the Week, Antonio Johnson. 13 tackles in the game, double figures in the category for the fourth time in his career, second time this season. He ranks second in the SEC and is tied for 23rd nationally with 38 tackles on the year. The guy just, sometimes he doesn't make splashy plays, although he can. He's just so consistently good.
Yeah, he's that guy that I think that coaches appreciate even more than fans do because, like you said, he rarely makes that play that just really stands out, but maybe it's because he's always where he's supposed to be.
Always makes the play.
And because, you know, some guys make a play look routine, a difficult play look routine, and I think maybe that's Antonio. He doesn't get a lot of interceptions and things like that. You know, he doesn't get a bunch of sacks, but you know what? He just goes out and makes tackles. If I'm not mistaken, the play just before the fumble that was returned, if I'm not mistaken, he had a big tackle that prevented Arkansas from scoring a touchdown.
Yep.
And then on the next play, because he made that tackle to prevent the touchdown, on the next play A&M got the fumble and turned it into a touchdown.
Speaking of that play, we're going to go to the next big shot of the week as the catalyst or the start. What's the right word? He's the one who got it going.
Catalyst works.
Catalyst works. Yeah. And his name is?
Chris Russell. Man, I thought Chris Russell was terrible against Miami, but he was, I thought, spectacular.
Look
there
at
he
that
is.
play, yeah.
If you're watching on TV, he's running in and throwing rock at Sanders for a loss. There he is filling a hole. He didn't make a big impact hit, but he stopped the play. And, Chris Russell, there he is.
Almost a pick six.
Again, the ball was thrown behind him.
Well, I want to talk about some guys stepping up, and one of those being Donovan Green. He had some big catches the other day. After a while, it felt like, tight ends weren't a part of this offense anymore. They had moved on, but they brought him back in. He led the team in receptions. He had a big third down conversion. He's got size, speed. He can block a little bit. He does it all.
Yeah. I heard Jimbo in his press conference say, he's just been kind of taking it easy with the young guys and not wanting to put too much pressure on them for them to go in there and feel like they have to do something or perform a certain way. So, for us to get him going in the fourth game of the year, get some catches under his belt, like you said, get some blocking. I'd like to see another one emerge so that we can use our personnel as a better weapon for ourselves. Getting some bigger guys out there and making the other team have to put bigger, slower guys on the field as well. But for him to emerge and make big catches, I think that only goes – his confidence is going to go through the roof. He's going to get better. It should motivate the other tight ends in the room to want to get on the field and do the same and be the next guy up. So I'm hoping to see big things moving forward for the tight ends as we get into conference play.
Yeah, we definitely need to do that. And I want to go back to Ainias and the fact that he means so much to this program, this particular group, but also his legacy, I think, is going to be one of those that we talk about for a while. Without him, you're missing a playmaker. But opportunities are there for others to kind of take another step. How do you make up when you got your second or your first big option and he goes away? Obviously, that's a big step backward. But how do you make it up with what you already have? And I'm saying maybe in the target department. Like, how do you target Evan Stewart a little bit more? Do you find new ways to get Devon the ball even a little bit more?
I think it's a little bit of both. It's going to be the play calling, knowing that we don't have that guy there dependable as he was. We can't call plays for him because he's not going to be in the game. But at the same time, it's got to be mentally for some of these younger receivers to step up and know, hey, our number one target is gone. Who's going to fill the role? Who's going to fill that void? And I think we got the guys capable of doing that. It's just going to be, like I said, a matter of stepping up to the plate and wanting to take that. Because some guys, believe it or not, they don't, they like playing the role that they play. I'm looking for somebody to step up and put a little bit more burden on their back.
What'd you think of that three-man front? And it ended up working.
Yeah, it did. It did in the back and ended up working. I like it situationally. I don't like it as a main focal point or as a base defense. When you look at the game, Arkansas was whooping us, especially that first half. They were whooping us in that three-man front. Power running game. There was a lot of traps, a lot of power game that they ran. I know what they were trying to do with the spy with KJ, because we talked about that earlier in the week, how, he can use his feet to be able to hurt us, within their offense. But I don't know, man. That three-man front, I think, will be a good game plan against Mississippi State. They like to pass the ball around, four wide formations. So I think it fits with what they do. When you look at Arkansas, you see the game against Alabama coming up, the power game that they can put on us, man. I think that's a bad front to be in as a base. Especially if you're not running a lot of games, especially if you're not stunning, you're not bringing different looks and pressures. I don't know if I like that, especially where we are. I think we have a good D-line. I think we got guys four across the board that we can use. We can use Antonio in that nickel, kind of like that Sam nickel linebacker spot. He's making tackles left and right, plays left and right. So as a base, I don't like it. As a switch up against a passing formation, I think it's a good defense for us.
Well, it's interesting because last year they did the three-man front against Mississippi State, and I hated it last year. But I agree with you against Mississippi State. I think that's something you should use. But they could not get pressure on the QB, and I think, I understand why, because they released the ball so quickly. But how important is that going to be, regardless, three-man, four-man front, when you're taking on a team that they like to slice and dice you with those quick passes?
Well, I think it's important, but I think people need to they need to temper their expectations as far as pressure when it comes to the three-man front against Mississippi State. When you look at what they do, they get the ball out quick. There's not a lot of deep routes, not a lot of 5 and 7 step drops out of that shotgun formation that they use when it comes to that. They do that because they know people try and get pressure on them. So they have combo routes, they have quick hitting routes, they have option routes that they use based off formational purposes, and they get the ball out quick. That's the one thing that I think people miss when they look at Mississippi State. There's nothing that is nothing overly downfield. They'll take their shots when it's there or when it's necessary, but they get it out quick and they beat you by 1,000 cuts. When you look at what we do defensively, when you look at that three-man front, you're looking at 5 DBs on the field. I think that's perfect. I think we match up athletically. I think we're more athletic than what they are on the outside, and I think we'll mix in those pressures, and we'll disguise those pressures a lot. We saw that against Arkansas when they got a lot of pressure, especially in that second half. So I think the matchup is there. I think the scheme that Durkin uses, I think it matches up perfectly with what they do offensively at Mississippi State. So I think this is going to be an interesting matchup, man. Can we be patient on defense? Can we limit the explosive plays? But most importantly, can we take away the long drives when it comes to the nickel and diamond with what they do offensively?
What'd you make of KJ Jefferson, the game that he had, and how hard he is to take down, and the way he affected the Ags? But he did make a couple mistakes.
Yeah, I thought Arkansas played well in the first half. In the first half, there was nothing we could do offensively. We were shook. I thought defensively we had a hard time adjusting to what they were doing, the physicality that they brought in the run game, and I thought them mixing it up with KJ was good as well. I think defensively in the second half we made the adjustment, and I thought he was confused that entire third quarter. I thought the third quarter of the game that they played was just I thought we showed different looks. The blitz game that we had confused him, especially with the protections. They went a lot of slide protection because they couldn't pick up our games and our stunts. But overall, I thought it was well. I thought we handled the adversity well on defense. I thought we took the punches, and I thought we fought back, and that was something that was encouraging to see.
I feel like very similar to what I saw last year, but the defense has grown up a little bit, and the offense, even though the offensive line looks different, has grown up as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the offensive line was really the biggest concern for Mississippi State coming into the season. They lost first-round draft pick and Charles Cross, probably one of the most talented offensive linemen that they've ever had. That's arguable. I mean, he was incredibly talented. He's starting for the Seattle Seahawks right now. Anytime you replace a first-round draft pick at left tackle, it's going to be a challenge. But I think they've protected okay. I think they've been good enough up front. And you got all those pieces returning offensively, like Will Rogers. You got the 2 running backs and Woody Marks and Dylan Johnson. You got all those wide receivers. So the offense is returning a ton of talent from last year. They've plugged in some guys that might not have played a lot last year, but they're kind of ready in this offense. And then, like you mentioned, the defense seems to be growing up a little bit, and it's a unit that's returning a ton of guys as well. So I feel like this is a veteran group, pretty talented group, not the most talented group that Mississippi State's had in the past 8 to 10 years, but they're a very experienced group, and that goes a long way in the SEC.
What went wrong in that LSU game? What was was it the O-line not protecting enough? Is that really what went wrong?
Yeah, I just think it was a lot of things for Mississippi State in that game that kind of compounded together that led to a loss. I didn't think the offensive line protected very well, but I give a lot of credit to LSU. They schemed things up really well. They have a ton of talent across the board. So, I give a lot of credit to them as well. But, Will Rogers didn't play great. The wide receivers had 5 drops. The offensive line was very shaky. And for the most part, the defense was good until late in the game. But I thought that had to do with a little bit of wear and tear as, State's offense just was continuously going 3 and out or having empty possessions. So I think, the mystique of playing in Tiger Stadium probably had something to do with that as well. You got to give credit to that environment for kind of shaking Mississippi State a little bit on the offensive side of the ball. I thought it was a little disappointing to see that Mississippi State, being a veteran group, like I mentioned earlier, was not able to go in there and be more composed than they were. They had plenty of chances to win that game. This is an LSU team that's still trying to find itself a little bit from an identity perspective. I think there's a ton of talent there for LSU, but they have a lot of transfers, they had a lot of turnover, a new head coach. This was really the time that Mississippi State should be able to get LSU, and they really blew that opportunity. But I don't think that really changes a whole lot of my opinion on this team. I just thought it was a really bad game for them.
Is it possible LSU is better than we thought? We know that they have the talent, but sometimes when a new culture comes in, and also losing that early game to Florida State kind of was what jolted them. Maybe that's what jolted Mississippi State as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think this LSU team is much better than people were giving them credit for. I think it's a top 25 type team. I think, like I said, I think they're still trying to find themselves a little bit, and they have a new quarterback. They're starting to figure out what he really does well, and that's get out of the pocket and do things with his legs. I don't think he's really in his element when he's standing in the pocket and throwing. And I think State had success defensively when they were able to keep him there. But he's a very dynamic guy, and I think they're starting to figure things out there. I think they're starting to figure out their offensive line a little bit. I think by the end of the year, we're going to say this LSU team is a lot better than we thought they were after that Florida State game.
Well, that's it. It's over. Nick, tell them what to do.
They need to like. They need to subscribe. They need to comment. They need to go tell all their friends and family to watch possibly the greatest sports talk show and, recap, rewind, whatever you want to call it, and then get us to 10,000 subscribers. That would be nice.
It would be awesome. So my question, did you respond to all the people that commented like you said you were going to?
There were so many, I couldn't even keep up.
There's like 9. You could have done 9.
I know.
You could have done 9. Just for that, the next one's, what I want you to write here is no Nick. That's all you got to say. No Nick. That's what I want on the comments. No Nick. That can mean we don't want Nick anymore, or no Nick didn't respond. It can be whatever you want it to be. Thanks so much for watching.